All right, let's get into it. We're going to break down the rules of the road for any kind of academic work. We'll be covering everything from the big ethical ideas that guide research all the way down to the nitty-gritty of how you cite your sources. Think of this as your guide to doing things the right way.
I know. It sounds like the start of a really weird joke, right? But believe it or not, the answer connects one of the darkest chapters in history, the way we do science today, and even the tiny little rules of grammar that hold it all together. So stick with me, because that connection, it's the key to understanding pretty much all scholarly research.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute bedrock, research ethics. Then, we'll see how those big ideas turn into real-world action with something called informed consent. After that, we'll switch gears to the writing itself and tackle the big one, plagiarism. And finally, we'll get into the details of citation and figure out how to pick the right style for whatever you're working on.
Okay, first things first. Before you even draft a research question, before you think about your methods, you have to start with a solid ethical foundation. And trust me, this isn't just about ticking boxes or paperwork, it's the absolute heart of what makes scholarship responsible. So, what do we even mean by research ethics? Well, it really boils down to a set of principles that have two huge jobs. The first job is to protect the people involved in your study, your participants. The second is to make sure your findings are credible and that people can actually trust your work. It's all about protecting people and producing honest results. Now, what's so important to understand is that these rules didn't just appear out of thin air. They were born from some pretty dark history. The Nuremberg Code, for example, came directly from the trials of Nazi doctors after World War II, and it established one non-negotiable rule. You must have voluntary consent. Later, you get the Declaration of Helsinki for medical research, and then in the US, it all gets summarized in the 1979 Belmont Report, which gives us the three core principles that guide basically all research today.
The first principle is called respect for persons. It sounds fancy, but the idea is simple. People get to make their own decisions. They are autonomous agents. And, just as important, it means we have a special responsibility to protect people who might have a harder time making those choices for themselves, like children or individuals with certain disabilities.
Next up, we have beneficence. You might have heard the phrase, do no harm, and that's a huge part of it, for sure. But it's actually like a two-sided coin. On one side, you have to do everything you can to minimize potential risks, physical, emotional, you name it. And on the other side, you have to actively try to maximize the possible benefits of the research, both for the participants and for society. And that third principle from the Belmont Report is justice. This one is all about fairness. It forces us to ask, who are we studying and why them? Are we putting all the risk on one group of people while another group gets all the benefits? Justice demands that we spread both the burdens and the benefits of our research as fairly as possible. So we have these three amazing principles, but how do they actually work in the real world? How do we take a big idea like respect for persons and turn it into something we actually do?
Well, that's where informed consent comes in.
You see, real informed consent isn't just about getting someone to sign a piece of paper. It's a whole process, and it has three critical parts. 1, you have to give people all the information about what they're signing up for. 2, you have to make sure they actually understand it, so no confusing jargon. And 3, you have to be absolutely certain they're agreeing to participate freely, without any pressure or arm twisting.
And if you look at what has to be in a consent form, you can see these principles at work. It has to clearly state that it's research, explain the purpose, the risks, and so on. But you know what? To me, the most important one is that last one. The freedom to withdraw at any time, for any reason, with no penalty. That's the ultimate safety net. It's the proof that their participation is truly voluntary. Okay, so we've done our research ethically, we've protected our participants, now we have to write it all up with that same level of integrity. And this, my friends, brings us to the minefield known as plagiarism.
Let's start with the most extreme, clear-cut version, global plagiarism. This is literally taking an entire paper, maybe one you bought online or got from a friend, and just slapping your name on it. It's a flat-out lie, and it's about as serious as academic misconduct gets. Next is something you see a lot more often, verbatim plagiarism. This is when you copy and paste someone else's exact words into your paper. Now, using quotes is a normal part of writing, but you absolutely have to put those words inside quotation marks and cite where they came from. That's it. It's a simple fix. Now this is where things get tricky and where a lot of people mess up. Paraphrasing plagiarism isn't about stealing words, it's about stealing ideas.
If you take someone else's argument or finding and you just kind of swap out a few words to make it sound different, but you don't give them credit, that's still plagiarism. You have to cite the source of the idea itself.
Then you have patchwork plagiarism, which is a little sneakier. It's when someone takes a sentence from here, a phrase from there, and stitches them all together from a bunch of different sources to make a new paragraph. It might look original, but don't be fooled. The software that schools use today is incredibly good at spotting this kind of thing.
And finally, we have the one that always surprises people. Self-plagiarism. Yes, you can plagiarize yourself. You can't just hand in a paper you wrote for one class for another class. Why not? It's your own work, right? Well, you're trying to get new credit for old work. Unless you get specific permission from your professor, it's considered a no-go.
So, with all these traps, how do you avoid them? The answer is simple: citation. And please, don't think of it as just a boring, tedious chore. It's so much more than that. It's how you show respect for other thinkers. It's how you join the ongoing conversation in your field. It really is the language of research.
Now, while there are tons of citation styles out there, you'll usually run into one of these big three: APA, MLA, or Chicago. And the key thing to understand is that each style is built for a specific purpose. APA is huge in the social sciences, MLA is the standard for the humanities, and Chicago is popular in fields like history. It's not arbitrary. Their different rules actually tell you what each field thinks is most important about a source.
And that's why choosing the right style is so important. It's not just about following rules, it's about, well, speaking the right language for the audience you're trying to reach. Let's really zero in on the two you'll see most often.
This slide gets right to the heart of it. The difference isn't just about a comma here or there. It's about a whole philosophy. APA uses the author's name and the year, Smith 2023. Why? Because, in the sciences, how recent the research is absolutely critical. MLA, on the other hand, uses the author and a page number, Smith 263. That's because, in the humanities, you're often doing a close reading, and guiding your reader to the exact location of a quote is what matters most. See? Each style is a tool designed for a different job.
And this book right here, this is the official rule book for MLA. It sets the standard for everything from how your page is laid out to how your works cited list should look. It's all about making sure your reader can easily find the exact sources you used in your own work.
Okay, so after all of these rules and styles and principles, let me give you the one single rule to rule them all. If you're ever confused, if you're ever in doubt, the guidelines from your instructor or your publisher are what count. They always, always win. What they say goes.
So, there you have it. We've gone from these huge ethical principles born from history's darkest moments, all the way down to the placement of a single comma in a citation. And that's the connection we started with, right? The horrors of war crimes gave us ethical codes. Those codes shape every psychology paper. And those papers depend on the precision of a comma to give credit and maintain integrity. But this whole story isn't over, and I'll leave you with this final thought. In this new age of AI-generated text, what does authorship even mean anymore? And how are all of our ideas about plagiarism and integrity going to have to change to keep up?